A second major economic relief package is closer to becoming a reality in response to the continuing health and financial crises. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, RKY, said he expects a new stimulus package to be debated when Congress is back in session starting July 20, and that it may include another round of stimulus checks. This likely means that a direct stimulus check wouldn't get to your bank account until late August at the earliest, since any new bill would likely face intense pushback from the opposing political party. This assumes stimulus checks would even be included in the first place. Millions of Americans continue to struggle to make ends meet and would gladly welcome another stimulus. The Republican-led Senate has previously opposed any direct stimulus checks proposed in Democrat-sponsored bills. However, McConnell hinted earlier this week at potential payments for the families hardest hit by the current economic crisis. A shift in position that isn't going unnoticed. In remarks made to reporters, McConnell stated, "I think the people who have been hit the hardest are people who make about $40,000 a year or less." He further added that many of them work in the hospitality industry, so that could well be a part of it. His words suggest that future payments will be even more limited than the first round of checks and have much lower income limits. McConnell didn't specify the size of potential checks or how likely they were to be included in new legislation, but it's clear that his stance on the topic is loosening. Cases of COVID-19 continue to grow, and the Trump administration's limp response to the pandemic has forced them to undertake drastic economic measures to save face before the election in November. Earlier proposals from House Democrats have included a monthly $2,000 payment for all families earning less than $120,000 a year. However, they failed to garner bipartisan support. The House did pass the $3 trillion HEROES Act, which includes another round of $1,200 stimulus checks, expanded unemployment benefits, and a moratorium on some foreclosures. It has yet to be approved by the Senate, and the bill's future is uncertain. However, one certain thing is that American workers continue to suffer. Initial jobless claims were 1.43 million in the most recent data released by the Labor Department. Similarly, the number of people searching W-4 on Google is 7x lower than it was in early February. The W-4 form is the tax withholding form that new employees fill out when starting a new job, so it's a trailing indicator of workers re-entering the workforce. According to the latest data released by the Census Bureau, only 12% of households saved or planned to keep their stimulus money, while the rest spent it on living expenses or paying off debt. Most Americans don't have enough money to cover a small emergency, so it's likely that most of that money has now been spent. Worries of a surge in foreclosures also loom, and legislators are rightly worried about how that would affect the election. The national debt relative to GDP is at the highest level since World War II, and the continued efforts to bolster the economy will only worsen the figures. The next stimulus package is shrouded in secrecy, but McConnell has defined what he wants it to include. He said he believes the priorities should be on liability reform, getting kids back in school in the fall, creating jobs, and continuing the healthcare response to the pandemic. His focus on providing broader liability protections to schools, hospitals, businesses, doctors, and other individuals hints at his desire to have schools in session in the fall. A lack of liability would encourage schools to reopen without the fear of litigation in doing so. McConnell's preference is to avoid more direct payments to American taxpayers. Still, it's evident that coronavirus isn't going anywhere until an effective vaccine is mass-produced, so he might not have much of a choice. Congress has its next session from July 20 to August 7 and then heads into the August recess. The financial markets will be watching closely to see if Congress can act quickly to pass another bill. Either way, it might not be enough.